through the Southgate, East Los Angeles area. We know this person is wanted for reckless driving. We're trying to get more information right now, but obviously you can see just how dangerous this situation is.
Yeah, lots of cars on the road right now, and just moments ago we had a bit more of a zoomed out view where we could see a number of law enforcement units behind them, and you can see more of them right there, 3 in the immediate view of your screen with that light overhead. So maintaining the view on this vehicle. Now, as always, we don't know exactly how many people are in this vehicle, the white one that we're maintaining our view on, if it's just the driver or if there's a driver and a passenger on top of it. But right now going down Garfield Avenue, East Lawson Avenue, and zooming close to 80 miles an hour.
And you can see there's some damage to the back of that vehicle. We don't know if that was during the pursuit. Was that damage caused then? Was it caused before? But you can see significant damage to the left side of the back of that vehicle as they continue to just roll through some of this traffic here and through some speed bumps as well. But you can see how close that cruiser is to the car. You wonder if they're going to do some type of pit maneuver right now. They're following them very close. Also, this is a congested area, and that might be why. But look, it looks like they were getting ready to do possibly a pit there.
Right, and now, as we always point out in these situations, you're caught in an area where it is very tight, it's very narrow. You have a decent amount of traffic from what we've been able to see so far. And yeah, we're just right there. And the speed bumps are really the only avenues right now in terms of slowing this vehicle down. So we've been dipping under 40 miles an hour, staying in the 30s, really just because of where this vehicle is caught in right now in terms of its geography. But getting a closer look at that damage on the back end right now in terms of its geography. But getting a closer look at that damage on the back left, it almost, again, we don't know where that damage came from, if it was in the course of this pursuit or if it was beforehand, but it is significant on the back end of that car.
Yeah, you have to wonder if this was possibly, maybe they tried to pit before. Right. Again, we don't know that, but that's significant damage.
But it's in that area
where if they're going to do a pit, that's exactly where they would do it, in the back towards the driver's side. I'm trying to get some information here. We know that the original agency that was chasing this suspect was the LASD East LA station. Again, the wants reckless driving. You can see they're going to possibly do a pit. Try to do it there.
And it wasn't that area.
Yeah, here you go. They're getting really close here. I think they want to be careful. You saw that truck there. They want to make sure no one else is in the way.
And the median there also just disrupted any sort of attempt at trying to level themselves parallel to that vehicle. And so much traffic on the road too. I mean, you see the pickup in speed just a little bit, but you have this cruiser just standing by.
And we also just get it just right.
Right, and we were just told also CHP is standing by to take this if it gets on the freeway. And what we're also being told is believed to be 2 people in this car as of right now. So once again, believed to be 2 people in this car wanted for reckless driving. We do know that there are multiple units in pursuit of this vehicle as we speak, and that CHP is standing by in case it gets onto the freeway. But we've seen a lot of close calls already, whether that's traffic, whether that's other vehicles parked on the side of the street, as well as those close calls when it comes to an attempted pit maneuver that we just saw with law enforcement that really got disrupted just because of the dynamics of where they are right now, because you have so many other things that are sort of getting in the way as they are in constant movement right now.
Yeah, you wonder if they're going to do another pit there. They're following them rather closely. Again, this is East LA Sheriff's deputies pursuing this reckless driving suspect. As we mentioned, you have 2 people possibly in that car. You see, again, rather close, but going about 65 miles per hour on these streets down the Downey-Norwalk area, right around Florence and Paramount Boulevard. They're going to just hop over some of those cars, drive right in front of them, as the sheriff's vehicle is persistent on possibly wanting to try a pit maneuver here.
Yeah, this one in particular.
Yeah, we've seen them try it at least once. We also wonder if they tried it before, because there's some of that damage to the back of the vehicle. But it looks like they are possibly getting the okay to try to do it and hopefully stop this driver. But so far, that deputy has been unsuccessful.
Yeah, and a lot of this might just really be because of everything else that's in the vicinity. The last thing that law enforcement would likely want to do here is to do a pit maneuver that could result in crashing into a business or a home or maybe even other cars. As we zoom out and give you a better look here, where you see all those other sheriff's deputies in line with that first one that's closest to the pursuit suspect. It was at least 3, if not a little bit more, but as of right now, we've kind of maintained the driving on top of these surface streets. We still haven't seen anything get onto the freeway.
Yeah, I believe we were saying at some point this driver was on the freeway but had gone off.
So right now, just kind of maintaining an eye. It's still hovering around that 60-mile-per-hour mark based on our tracker in the top right corner of your screen. Fortunately, there just hasn't been a lot of, we haven't seen a lot of people or other cars, at least in just the last couple of minutes. But there you go. You have someone right now trying to move over and get out of the way because this is still ongoing, especially when you consider that we saw that damage on the back left end of your car.
I want to talk about that for a moment because I'm getting a really good look at it right now. Take a look at how bad that damage is. You can see the bumper completely off. You can see the tire. So I have to imagine that this possibly did happen during this pursuit. We've only been over it for roughly a couple minutes now, but we know that it was started by the sheriff's deputies before we got over it here. So you got to wonder if they tried a pit maneuver.
They attempted it in the exact same spot of this pursuit vehicle. So I would say it's a safe assumption to make given what we know so far and the ongoing details of this pursuit. Because they just keep weaving through traffic, and one would assume trying to buy themselves more time.
But it looks like deputies are backing up just a bit, trying to cool this situation down. For a moment there, one of those deputies, the vehicle was right on the tail of this suspect's car, but they have now backed up. We can't even really see them in our view right now, but you do see helicopter shining the spotlight, so
testing the audio. Hello. Testing.
They're not going to let this person go.
And one would also think that the driver of this vehicle also knows that spotlight's over top. So even if they think that everyone's backed off and maybe they have a free reign, there's really nothing in that regard. It's just when law enforcement backs off a bit, like you pointed out, Leslie, it's just typically a moment to let things cool down a little bit, maybe reassess. And take a look at what's going on here to see how they can approach things. Because up to that point, it was just very neck and neck, very close, and that didn't necessarily put things to an end, at least in that moment.
We want to get our bearings here, but it looks like they are getting on the freeway unless they took the side street here.
A little hard to tell with how dark it is, at least just relatively on the screen that we're looking at right now.
They're going to continue on the streets here in the Downey-Norwalk area, going to bypass some cars here at this intersection and continue on here near Somerset Ranch Road and Opal Avenue. Kind of staying in the same vicinity. We know this started in East LA. They're now in Downey-Norwalk. We're going to continue on, and it looks like the sheriff's deputies, at least on the ground, have backed up, trying to just
and the helicopter's just
really
tracking.
cool this situation down as this vehicle is now making its way into a neighborhood.
Yeah, and right now this is what we saw just a few minutes ago with these very narrow streets, a lot of cars parked on the side, and it really limits the movement, so it slows them down. And at least
this pursuit had started about 20 minutes ago. This went all the way from the surface streets and the LA County Sheriff's units following that car for a few moments, then makes a right turn. We see the driver get on the freeway and off the freeway at times. Many times we've seen this pursuit suspect, the reckless driver of that white car. It's not a stolen vehicle. That got up to 80 miles an hour just moments ago. Then was speeding at 50 miles an hour plus, and the SUV had to pull over for that suspect to get out of the way so they could get through. 4 ground units were following that car overhead, on the ground, and the police units backed off. In the last couple of minutes, we see the suspect drive very calmly at normal speeds, a little high speeds. Hasn't been erratic driving. Was reaching speeds at 60, 70 miles an hour. And then 4 police units was chasing that white car, and then went past traffic on all other cars and the commuters. We see the driver speed up at least, and these are sirens, and their police choppers still overhead. Got onto the scene at first, and the news helicopters got onto that scene, and I could say that driver is eventually speeding up. From their perspective, to get a glimpse of that behavior and the demeanor of that pursuit, the pursuit suspect had changed his behavior at least a little bit. Ever since deputies had backed off, they slowed it down. We had to we're gonna have to sum all of this up for you. Got onto the freeway, off the freeway, and he tried to get on the freeway, but nope. Decided to stay on surface streets. We've seen stop signs and slowing signs, traffic lights, and now he's accelerating. Always that concern when they're in a situation when someone is wanted for multiple, at least 3 sheriff deputies, and the spotlight still that's been most constant presence since they broke in, since they started breaking into that breaking news, since they got overhead. The vehicle damage on the left bumper, some vehicles seems to be okay at first, not damaged. They presume to be coming from an attempt pit maneuver that hasn't quite been confirmed. They did see sheriffs attempt another pit maneuver. It got close to 10 minutes. It got closed about nearly 5 to 10 minutes ago, and we see the driver, when he's driving very erratically with no units behind. They try to see aggressive maneuvers when they try to get aggressive with the vehicles and dangerous maneuvers. At least he hasn't been driving erratically. We're going to back up a little bit. The sheriff's helicopter do most of the work, and that's what they're seeing here. Spotlight is on the car, night sun overhead, and really where they were able to get what they wanted for this suspect to kind of slow down, de-escalate the situation, that I'm sure that they're formulating a plan to possibly to pick it back up soon. Sometimes when the chase have been called off for safety reasons, they have been called off for numerous reasons. Sometimes desperate times calls for numerous times desperate measures. They could re-engage, lack of better word. In the next couple of minutes, it's going to be an elongated amount. Blowing through red lights could trigger a response from sheriff's deputies to get back on top of this vehicle. Maybe they get back into this pursuit to do a pit maneuver. They were told earlier that CHP is on standby if they get on the freeway. They seem to be in communication with each other. Look at that vehicle. Aspects of at least the suspect is wanted for reckless driving, not shots fired, not a robbery. We believe 3 people inside that car, and we could tell you in the last several minutes or so, he's been in the Downey area, Downey Norwalk. He's been on the Downey Norwalk area as the vehicle keeps on Alondra Boulevard, and as they get close to 70 miles an hour, there's a utility work crew up ahead pulling over. This is the pursuit that they've cut off that utility work crew truck, I'm assuming, and they've been chasing that vehicle, and they're coming up on a Caltrans vehicle, getting onto the freeway, cuts off that innocent motorist. Now he's been on the run from the police in the Downey Norwalk area for the last 10-15 minutes or so. See the driver marching on the freeway, and as pursuit continues on, he's going to pick up speeds at least 60 miles an hour. Deputies back off. Helicopters in tracking mode. They'll have to wait and see. Sometimes they will at this point. They have not heard of CHP going to take this over if they have to. Now, in the last few minutes, he's been driving on the freeway he's still on the 605 northbound freeway, transitioning onto another freeway. The Dane level aggression back and forth. They certainly seen the suspect running through stop signs, traffic lights, having to change to jump onto the 605 to the 105 freeway westbound. If this keeps going into this normal direction on the westbound 105 freeway, we have to be very careful. They gotta be very careful with the airspace restrictions. We have to contend to that, because they have to contend to that, the LAX's airspace, the restricted airspace. They have landing traffic coming to land, because we gotta be very careful, because we don't want that to be interference with the restricted airspace restrictions. We have this pursuit people to go at least right now, and they're gonna stay with this vehicle as my pilot and my cameraman doing a great job keeping up with this pursuit. Now, as they are still near the Downey Norwalk area, 105 freeway. This pursuit started in the East LA area with sheriff's deputies from East Substation, who noticed was a driver driving recklessly. That began that pursuit that took them through Montebello and ended up following them close near Downey Norwalk as they were on for the last 15 minutes or so. He's on the 105 freeway eastbound or westbound at this point. I'm sorry, I dropped my pen. At this point, it's unsuccessful. At one point, the pit maneuver was unsuccessful. They were going to let the helicopter take it from here. We can get a zoom in and get a closer to that. I believe the headlights are still on. The car has not been blacked out for the last several moments. They're tracking this suspect. Three people inside that car. At least one they saw from the news helicopter that is directly in a line to draw here. They've seen in the back end, the left side, once again, of that vehicle. Once again, it's been damaged. We don't know what caused that, and I could tell that they tried to do a pit maneuver one time. It was unsuccessful. It didn't work. Tried to slow down while making a left turn. I could tell you from their perspective, when they see a reckless driver, pursuit suspect, just don't try to think about being a hero. Don't be involved, because let the pursuit suspect, let the CHP officers pick it up from there. And I could tell you, on two sides you see the news helicopters and the police air unit helicopter with the spotlight night sun overhead on a night time. It happened over the weekend on Sunday, when it was only when I got a notification. I saw the live streaming. We have to get through that today as well. Today on my YouTube channel, it's a live streaming that we're doing this. So this is what's been on. Crossing underneath the freeways, the transitioning freeways. Still staying behind that staying behind that that Dodge Charger 2008 or Dodge Adventure 2008 car of the year. I'm assuming was speeding at 75 miles an hour. We're gonna let you listen now.
This is now CHP territory.
I was going to bring up that exact point about the fact that, sometimes we see a typical pattern of commute when it comes to pursuit suspects. As we mentioned, you hang out in those surface area streets of an area you're familiar with to try and find some sort of escape avenue, and put that in quotes, escape avenue, tend to end up getting caught regardless. But after then getting on the 605 and going northbound, but then quickly pivoting back to the 105, which is where we are now, going west and getting into Compton. So going from Downey Norwalk west now into Compton, who's to say that they don't turn right back around? We've seen that before, but again, there's no indication from this suspect as of right now as to what direction they're going to go, or if they're just going to maintain this. Obviously, we know the 105 isn't endless. At a certain point, they're either going to have to turn around or go north or go south. But as of right now, we're just keeping an eye on this because everybody is still in communication with each other as to what exactly is going on. We mentioned to you that CHP was notified about what's going on, whether or not they need to be on standby to take this over now that it's jumped on the freeway. But, really, it's worth pointing out again, even as they jumped on the freeway, 605 now going west on the 105, we still haven't seen any law enforcement, really get up close and behind.
No,
we've
but
had
I'm
close
hearing
calls
CHP
like that.
is going to re-engage possibly, but you saw they're pretty much sandwiching themselves in between two lanes, two vehicles to try to get around it. There you go. Just as we said it, CHP now re-engaging this pursuit suspect. And this, again, CHP territory.
And it's worth also another good point to point out that now with the re-engagement, it also helps the other drivers on the road, too. When you see the flashing lights and you see everything else that's going on, and now when it starts getting congested like this, it's a good, hey, guys, we got to start
between two vehicles, once again, the carpool lane and the freeway as CHP right on the tail of this pursuit suspect. You see that driver on the carpool lane getting out of the way, going into the shoulder, just to give room for that CHP cruiser.
We're being told right now that we might have Dave Avila on the phone right now. We've been trying to connect with Dave throughout the night to see if we can get a picture perspective. Dave, can you hear us all right?
How do you hear me?
We do hear you. We hear a bit of an echo, though, to be perfectly honest with you. So I just want to make sure we have a clean communication so we don't disrupt you throughout the course of this conversation.
How are you hearing me now?
Oh, we hear you great.
Okay, I thought you heard me.
Yeah, perfect.
Dave, I know you've been watching this. We were trying to connect with you.
Yes.
If you don't know, Dave Avila, retired LAPD helicopter pilot there. But we're watching CHP re-engage this reckless driving suspect now. Any information you're hearing from your sources?
It's exactly that. It was a sheriff's caper that started this whole thing, and then afterwards it went back on to Chippies, and we've been back and forth. Air unit is still overhead. They have sometimes they got this new thing where they'll go ahead and pull the light off the suspect, try to de-escalate the situation. They've got a new name for it. I forget what it is, but it's basically they want to de-escalate it. But CHP will go ahead and stay on it. And as we know, it's just like any other department. When you get CHP involved, they like all the other units to pull off. Sheriffs or LAPD, whoever it is. In this case, it's sheriffs. Because they all play up their own rule book, for lack of a better term, unless things start going sideways. And then no request party.
Yeah, it looks like another CHP cruiser now joining in on this pursuit as the suspect looks to possibly be getting. It looked like they were going to exit the 105 here, but we're going to have to follow this a bit.
Dave, while we keep an eye on
probably
this,
heading on the 110.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, it looks like they might jump on the 110 here. What goes into the decision, Dave? Because over the course of this pursuit for the last 20 minutes or so, we saw sheriff's deputies and everybody back off and give a pretty lengthy amount of space and time to sort of reassess the situation. At what point does it trigger, okay, we need to re-engage in this situation?
Well, the danger involved, we get to the point where that did not work. They pulled off. They said, let's go ahead and give this suspect some time, some space. Air unit will turn off its light, and which they just re-engaged because it's not that wasn't working. So he got on the freeway, so CHP said, hey, so for the safety of the citizens, let's go ahead and re-engage this pursuit. We'll get the air unit back on it with the night sun, and at least give some people some warning of what's happening. But we've all been on that freeway, and we've had cars pass us by, 90 miles per hour, and it's kind of like, whoa, didn't even see them coming. So hopefully this puts a warning out to the folks there.
Yeah, it can be a very dangerous situation, but now definitely more CHP 3 now jumping in on this pursuit, as you were mentioning, Dave. They're on the 110 south right now. It looks like if They do what other pursuit suspects will do, possibly heading back to the same direction. We know it started in East Los Angeles. You know, they can always go down the 91 or the 405 here, so we'll just continue watching this one. But there was a couple of pit maneuvers we saw that the sheriff's deputies were very close, Dave, but it just unsuccessful there.
Yeah, and like right now, it wouldn't be a good time to put a pit maneuver right now because of the vehicles that are on the freeway, unless they can get the traffic stopped and get the suspect up there. But the other thing, the desperation of all, and good point, Leslie, because we've always seen where these suspects like to hang out in the neighborhood, let's say the east side, somewhere that they're familiar with. So, we're southbound the 110 freeway. We're going to come up the 105 and, we're going to come up to the other freeways. We could always start heading back that way. But, the thing we have to look at also is that the suspect, they are doing everything they can to stay away from the officers. So we don't know what's going on, the seriousness of their crime, if it's more than GTA, if it's more than Grand Theft Auto. We have to, so we have to keep that in mind too. Why are they intent on getting away?
Yeah, especially if this started as a reckless driving stop.
Yeah,
it was a reckless driving stop, and then they're so intent on wanting to get away, you have to wonder what else is going on in that car. What else? Why else are they trying to get away?
On top of the fact, Dave, that also I think another variable and dynamic is it looks like they're taking an exit. Did it look like the 405?
I want to say it did look like the 405. There's believed to be another person in the car too. So we know, as you brought this up many times before, when you have a single suspect, they might be jumping on the phone, trying to call friends for help, but that sort of dynamic starts evolving. But when you have an extra person in the car directly next to you, then that becomes a very tangible thing where you're perhaps discussing it with somebody else in the car with you, and that elongates what is already a rather long pursuit and situation.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking the desperation here. It's that's why when you're an officer, you're chasing the suspect. Yeah, it's a reckless driver in the pursuit.
The pursuit had been going on. They've been monitoring, and following this on the ground, and they've been following overhead. This has been going on for the last 20 minutes. This has been going on for the last 20 minutes or so since the police started this chase. We see the suspect speed up and transition on the northbound 405 freeway. It's a tangible thing that three units were behind them. Those commuters are staying in their own lanes, doing everything they can to keep away from the officers. Got a little bit held back because the LAX's airspace just a little bit, and I can tell you that suspect been chased by the officers the entire time. This pursuit that had been on the run. Three suspects in that car, white car, have been on the run for the past 20 to 25 minutes or so since the police started this chase. It started with a reckless driver in pursuit of that. That was his own car that's been monitored and chased. And we know that for so many reasons that this went all the way through the surface streets and then continued on in the carpool lane, southbound, then got to the northbound 405 freeway. The CHP units backed off, and I could tell you, he's driving very cautiously, very calmly at a normal speed, speeding at 80 miles an hour plus a little, 80 miles an hour. And as you can see, now going to change lanes, merge onto that freeway, not merging onto the freeway, going into the carpool lane. And I could say that if then they got a backup going, they would request a supervisor. Now this vehicle continues on. He hasn't been driving erratically. Three vehicles were behind them as the CHP. Once they get here, and the commander and this person, in their own words, they're gonna monitor this pursuit. How dangerous is it to the public if they're gonna pursue that suspect to be continued? We'll stay tuned for that shooting suspect that's coming up next in about oh, I should say about 30 minutes or so. And then we stay in between those lines. That's a big factor that they were making that point earlier on about the fact that they're relatively speaking to the typical pursuit. They did jump in on. They had a lot of close calls, almost crashing. Thank goodness nobody's getting hurt. That's a concern for the CHP and those LA Sheriff PD units. They're trying to put an end to this. They were worried about suspects going to end up hurting themselves or anybody else because they're very concerned. They spent a quality time in Downey Norwalk area the last several minutes, the last several moments, in the last 30 minutes, in the last 25 to 30 minutes or so since the police started this chase. This was the suspect speeding up. Now went all 605, 110, 105 freeway, 405 right now southbound Purple Lane in Inglewood, and we could tell you the suspect was speeding up. What they're going, what were they thinking? He's got a, we're not sure yet. It's a male or a female. We do know that's 3 occupants inside that car. The police have their night sun on. They're not gonna turn off their night sun because it's nighttime. Because they're on the cell phone, talking to somebody, feeding them information. Always people often ask. They have so many pursuits in the Los Angeles area, all across the country, including the robbery suspects, shots fired, suspects leading police on an hour-long chase, rush hour, bank robbery suspects on an hour-long chase through rush hour. It happened yesterday, Monday. It happened on Monday night, yesterday, that we did upload it. It happened 2 years ago. It happened 2 years ago in July of 2024. This is why it happened all across the country, across the U.S., everywhere when there's a pursuit going by, when there's a TVI pursuit, when they join in the hijacking force, when the hijacking force, news investigation reporters, we could tell you they went up to the Wave Valley, and we could say this suspect had been on the run, and I know when they join in, they go get the suspects, news helicopters, police helicopters, following it all, and they do this to broadcast the chase live on television. And when they do the infrared cameras on nights on dash cam overhead, up above the top of that police aircraft, and now heading towards the Santa Monica area, heading towards the LAX's airspace. They're staying with this vehicle. They're going to stay with the vehicle for a longer period of time. If it gets to that LAX's airspace, we might call it a night and go to the next pursuit. Now the South End, Los Angeles, out to the valley. And looks like they're going to get off here. They're going to get off here on El Segundo in the Inglewood area. They might still be continuing to do so. Looks like they're gonna get off the freeway, and I could tell headlights are still on. The driver could see. The car could see from there. Not gonna black out. They're not gonna black out. Still on the 405 freeway, exiting off the freeway, 405 freeway southbound, northwest Hawthorne. If it gets to LAX's and Hawthorne Airport, we might have to be back off, because I think they're gonna head towards the northbound 405 freeway. I'm assuming. Wow, he's been driving slow he's been driving at 40-50 miles an hour in the last 5 minutes or so. Once they got pulled off together with the breaking news, they've gone into some monitoring mode, tracking mode. They're just gonna go sit back, enjoy the pursuit, do it live streaming daily. They would not call it a de-escalation. They got some U-turns that might be just to be what they're doing. They're trying to pull off, back off, because this was getting too dangerous. They have to call off for the safety reasons. because if it's reckless driving, it's not auto theft. It's not auto theft. We could tell you in a matter of 10 seconds here he's gonna head towards back on the 105 freeway, westbound Imperial Highway, like he is right now. I could tell you right now. Thank goodness they didn't hit Caltrans. Speeding at 70 miles an hour, and I might say this is a what? Wow, you're gonna be held back to that LAX's airspace once again, I'm assuming. Now transitioning onto that freeway, making a turn blinker, and it's been about 10 minutes that we're gonna do a live streaming second part. Don't go anywhere, and we're gonna tell you you're gonna talk to this registered owner to see if they still own the vehicle. They still own it though, and they might be swinging it around. They have to keep in mind they're being in Westchester, and now they got restriction zones. And now it's going to get close to that LAX's airspace. Now it's very difficult and tricky with that pursuit, and they're communicating with each other is the CHP, the news and the police helicopter, and the news helicopters they listen on it on the radio frequency scanner. Look at that vehicle right now. Now as they're heading towards, they have to give it a little bit distance due to that downtown LAX airspace. We could tell you that it's a restricted airspace zone, and we know for the fact that we were saying the back end, left end damage destroyed a little, and the white car seems to be okay, including the one bumper. We might call it a day, folks, as you can see. Sorry, I can't see as it got further away. They've called it Class Bravo south on the 105 freeway. They're free to fly here, even though we're in attorney's airspace. Hawthorne airplanes. Hawthorne is closed. Next to that airplane, flying in and out of. They're at law court and attorneys. They're at law court attorneys. Attorneys restricted LAX's airspace because when they have a TFR, temporary flight restriction, on the 405 freeway, on the 405 northbound freeway, when there's a cold plated vehicle of that car next to that LAX's airspace, when that car speeds up at 92 miles an hour, they have to scoot a further distance with a rear left tire flat, sparks flying on the rear left back side. So I hope that's what you want to do. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that on. Stay tuned for that on Friday, and we'll do that. We're gonna do that on Friday. Coming up on Friday. So this is what's on again, and it's very congested. Everything we've mentioned that earlier. Non-likelihood continuing on the northbound 405 freeway. This pursuit suspect got away from the police. We're gonna now they're gonna leave the LAX's airspace, and they're not gonna continue it much longer. They're gonna keep an eye out as this pursuit comes to a grinding conclusion. I want to back all of this up for you as well. Okay, I want to back all of this up for you, and I know it's. Excuse me. Come on, let's play the video, shall we? May you please play that video? Today we're watching a shooting suspect police chase through San Fernando Valley on the northbound 170 freeway. I want to rack it up again. Now it's traveling at 50 miles an hour. Police units following that suspect. And they've been following that suspect. The shooting suspect happened half an hour ago. 70 minutes, half an hour ago. This pursuit is... I'm sorry, guys. I've been interrupted by a phone call. I don't want to do that in the live streaming because when it gets paused. It happened at Echo Park and Echo Park Boulevard. What they were able to find a vehicle. It was LAPD's Northwest Division in the Eagle side of the surface streets. The shooting happened half an hour ago. The shooting suspect in the minivan took off, and now rush hour traffic. The suspect is having to deal with. And all we do believe he may have a gun. He may have a weapon. He may have a weapon and a gun. Two things, a gun and a weapon, at the same time. And we know for the fact, driving slow, being followed by LAPD units, the minivan side have been damaged. It's only the driver in that vehicle. And we know that suspect speed up. One occupant in that minivan right now, and they believe it was only a driver inside. They're able to double in more. They could see in more. They could see the driver the driver had been driving slow at normal speeds. He has not been driving very erratically. Now, as we know, the news helicopters and the police helicopters got overhead, and maybe when there's a shots fired and they leave, when there's a shooting investigation, the police have to do their job and conduct the investigation. Put a yellow tape, do not cross. It's a murder, it's a CSI murder, and we might know the suspect speeding up now. And the suspect had been on the this happened when the news helicopters got overhead, and when this pursuit, the police helicopters got overhead. It's kind of very familiar to that. Still gonna stick with the 170 freeway northbound. Did some normal maneuvers at any attempt to get around rush hour traffic. That sounded like the pits are authorized. Don't see about spike strips or anything else. They're in rush hour traffic right now. So up to this merger with the 5 freeway and the northbound 5 freeway, looking forward to the Newhall Pass. If he decides to make a transition when traffic is going to slow enough for them to do that maneuver on the highway. And interestingly, and more women involved in these pursuits. Men and women are being chased, involved in the pursuits. When there's a robbery suspect along with a couple or somebody, 3 men, 3 women inside that car being pursued, when there's a shooting suspect, when we started today, just a few minutes ago. It's always the case. They didn't get a great look at the suspect. The windows are tinted. We could tell it's a female, and they're getting a decent look inside as they try to get over to that slow driving. They aren't seeing any attempts as far as driving, reckless driving. We have not seen that. That shoulder still getting stuck, driving slow or waiting patiently, what I could say, and what I believe the vehicle on the lower and the capability as far as they wanted to drive the vehicle as little. It's a run-of-the-mill minivan. They'll have to see what kind of LAPD takes at this, because they're going to see a pit maneuver. We'd be surprised if we see it. Maybe they could do it on the freeway, like we did that on Sunday over the weekend. This pursuit started with a domestic violence suspect carjacking and the carjacking of that Toyota Tacoma pursuit. So many units were behind that car, following it overhead on the ground. Police and the news helicopters following it overhead. You'll see what the suspect reacts to that traffic. They were overhead for several hours. They were overhead for at least an hour and 60 minutes. No, they were overhead for at least an hour and 60. They were overhead at least an hour, for a better part of an hour and 60 minutes, and about 60 minutes to an hour. Like a TV show, it's a 60 minute. It's a 60 minutes aired on CBS, aired at every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on Channel 13 KOVR, and it's on 7/6 Central here on CBS every Sunday night. Sometimes it was aired Wednesdays in the 2004 at 8/7 Central. Wednesdays on CBS aired in 2004, 2005, and I could tell so many years they've done that. They've got caught up with the top stories, and when it returns to in a moment on CBS, it's like a TV show when they take commercial breaks, when there's a medical advertisement. When I was a little boy, we saw vehicles of Infinity's luxury car, of the advertisements. I've done that on my YouTube channel 3-4 years ago in June of 2022 before we went on summer break. We could tell we see, oh my god, several units behind them. It's like a 5-star wanted level pursuit. They have no reason to believe that right now as they widen out and see LAPD, 5 of them in the back behind them, and police helicopters overhead, wandering to southbound carpool lane 170 freeway in the Sun Valley area. And I could say this pursuit continues on and on. We might know for the fact it was a typically tough Thursday. We've heard that it's the bomb in the van being too aggressive, really zigzagging those lanes. Sometimes these people do that. November 7th, 2024 happened over a year or two ago, almost 2 years ago. I can tell you that. It was in 2024, and I could tell you always hearing from the police dispatch that is a major dog lover. Always hearing that they do see the dog. They can make out if they're trying to do dog. It's a dog, little bit of a pug. Other breeds that we could say that dogs. It's a love carrying ASPCA Foundation Association with the pets. Sometimes their hotline phone numbers. I don't want to reveal that and say any numbers to you guys. I don't want that because I'd be in trouble for that. I want to say this was like, it's like how much to get that pet. It's like $18, $20 a month or so. I've seen advertisements on TV. Savings are really good, and it's good pets and loving and nurturing and care. And they ended up having to shoot in the dog ended up being okay. These things definitely don't seem to be dangerous. I could say that probably oblivious to everything that's going on. A couple of light changes here. Nothing super dangerous. So in ways we aren't in this moment in any serious jeopardy of getting into crash with the dog. That's not restrained property. It's not like dog abuse. As they get closer to the northbound 5 freeway, going for rides, the dog's enjoying this track of a slow speed chase, as the female suspect cannot take this anymore in the 170 freeway northbound, as they are getting off, as she is getting off along with her dog as of right now. With that, we're into 50 minutes of a second half of live streaming. Looks like Roscoe Avenue would be the part in this Roscoe Boulevard, in Sun Valley, heading towards Panorama City. This will take us to west, and this is through the lane. So she may end up staying on the 170 freeway. She's gonna get off the 170 freeway. You can't take this anymore with the because of that rush hour traffic. As through a lane, bypass some of this traffic. Excuse me. This would take us to Panorama City. 6 units, I could tell. They will be stick with it. If they're indeed getting off the freeway, that's going to take us to Panorama City Freeway or Sun Valley, Roscoe Boulevard. That they're going to exit. My pilot is doing a great job as well. We give him a round of applause. It's a pretend pilot. I'm the news helicopter reporter for today. I'm going to let you listen now.
Making those turns and seems to be going relatively slow. Our best hope, of course, is that she would just pull over and turn herself in, because even though this is slow, it can always be a dangerous situation, especially knowing that she could be armed. And, of course, officers are going to need to be prepared for a suspect that is armed and has to be considered dangerous as well. But again, we're watching as that turn signal's going on, and we don't always see this when we're following a pursuit, that someone will actually take the time to put on a turn signal and follow the rules of the road and go as slow as this driver has been doing. So it is definitely a unique pursuit in this case.
Yeah, it is, and I just noticed actually both sides of these windows have that covering. I don't know if that's but it obscures the window completely, so it's one less set of windows for LAPD to see in, although they might have been kind of blacked out the way that the windows in the far back would be anyway. But yeah, the dog just kind of hanging out in the front seat, just kind of along for the ride. As we made the turn now onto Sheldon Street, which actually is just going to kind of loop back around. Sheldon's going to loop back around to the 170, and I believe there's going to be another ramp there. This could actually go to back to the southbound 170 and double back if the suspect chooses to do that. And again, this alleged shooting that we had heard about happened right by Echo Park Lake on the south end, Echo Park Boulevard and Bellevue Avenue. That's right there by the south side of that beautiful lake, one of LA's nicest parks, if I do say so myself. And but they got a good description on this vehicle. There is a license plate now I can see in the back, or is there? Yeah, I think there is. Actually, I honestly can't. Yeah, you can tell if that's a normal license plate or if that's an out-of-state plate. It's kind of hard to tell with the glare going on right now. But see what they're going to do here is Sheldon at Arleta Avenue. Arleta, which would be a north-south alternate to the 5 freeway, looks like crossing that. And this is going to just bend back around the other side of the 170, I think, right back to Roscoe as I widen out. So let's see what the suspect is going to do. But the slow speeds continue.
Yeah.
At least not, really dangerous for everyone out here. You just never know what you're going to see with some of these suspects. Sometimes you have just, a stolen vehicle and they drive like total lunatics. Other times you have a shooting suspect and they're going 20, 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, and you just wonder, is she going this slow because this is as fast as that van will go, or is she just driving this slow, maybe trying to, get her thoughts together, trying to decide what she's going to do? And you always wonder, are they trying to head to a familiar area, or are they just driving, just trying to avoid being captured by officers? It's, you'll often wonder, is she pulling over?
Oh.
Looks like it.
I think so. Yeah, let's see. Maybe this is just the area where she wanted to gather her thoughts and surrender. Hopefully we're going to see the hands out the window. We're now hearing that the suspect is alleged to have shot at 2 people in Echo Park, but again, we didn't hear that anyone was hit. Well, we saw the window down for a second, and doing a U-turn here, so headed back. Yeah, kind of gave us a little bit of false hope there. Mike, seems like, here we go. They're going to try to box her in. She says no. Yeah, and a lot of times at the agencies, again, it's just kind of a thing where they don't want to put their officers in too much harm's way, because people are probably thinking, why didn't they just box her in better than that? They always kind of leave an out for for the suspect, if they want to get out, to kind of try to prevent any agitation or major escalation. But we're at a stop again. Well, let's see. I mean, if she didn't surrender the first time. Not sure what would change her mind in 20 or 30 seconds. And
I'm wondering if the van is stopping on her, and that she just is able to maybe get it started again, or if we're watching on the right side what happened just moments ago when she stopped and then pulled that U-turn. We're showing folks on the right side of our screen, Des, and then on the left side it is the live look at what is happening here. But we've seen her now pull over twice, and Des, I have to say, this is probably the most aggressive driving we've seen since you've been over this pursuit when she dodged those officers.
Yeah, it kind of speaks to how docile overall this pursuit has been compared to so many others. And the most aggressive maneuver we had was a stop and a U-turn and a stop again. It looked like there was someone in the roadway she may have actually been stopping for, or is this vehicle having any trouble with going? I can tell you that Dodge Caravans maybe don't have the best reliability reputation, but we are on Arleta Avenue now, so we're paralleling the 5. We're just west of the 5, making our way northbound, so away from the 170 and the 5. This will be a street that you could definitely use to bypass some of that nasty traffic on the Golden State Freeway through Pacoima here on the other side of the freeway. But why did she come up into this area? Is this where she lives, or wants to surrender? I mean, we're not really making any serious attempt to get away from the authorities, just kind of buying time at this point. Certainly worth wondering if we're having some mental health issues with all of this as well. Looking at the police, window down, a couple of hand motions there. Just kind of try to double in here while we can and see if.
And I just wonder if the van is stopping as opposed to her stopping the van. If she's having some kind of car issues, or if she is intentionally stopping. It's so hard to say. But now she's put on her headlights and back on the move, but still not going very fast, Des.
Yeah, still not very fast. Just hard to say with how some people maintain their vehicle. I mean, this van doesn't seem to be in the best shape. There is some talk about the spike strips right now, so that could certainly be in the offing. And there have been a lot of opportunities for this just because the suspect has been going so slow. But, is that going to get this suspect's attention? How many pursuits have we seen where spike strips are used and then it doesn't even matter? Well, on the wrong side of the road there, a little bit, that was decently aggressive. But there's been plenty of pursuits where they've had successful spike strips and the suspects just continue to go until the wheel falls off, or rather, first the rubber for the tire, and then the metal of the wheel, and we got sparks all over the place, and then they're down to the brake caliper. So we just don't know. Even if they do a successful spike, doesn't mean that this is just suddenly going to end if the suspect wants to really push this vehicle as hard as they want. But might have been a couple of words exchanged there with this suspect. Is speeds, 30, 31 miles and 35 is about as fast as we've seen it. And there, is the opportunity to go faster if they wanted to do that, illegally, obviously. But regardless, they are just kind of tootling along here, making our way through the North San Fernando Valley on the west side of the 5 freeway northbound on Arleta Avenue, Amy.
Desmond, this being a pursuit of a shooting suspect, the security definitely heightened for not only the public, but for the officers who are pursuing. I mean, this is a very dangerous situation, possibly, with this person possibly armed. And, as they go up on the sidewalk here and back down onto the street there, taking a shortcut through that gas station. Desmond, tell us, first of all, how this all began.
So we have heard that this was a shooting that happened very recently, just within perhaps the last hour, and it was down on the south end of Echo Park Lake, just north of the 101 freeway, or very near there anyway. Echo Park Boulevard and Bellevue Avenue is what we had heard, and I looked at that up on the map before we got on the pursuit, and see that is right there on the southern edge of Echo Park Lake, where obviously, a lot of people would be at the tail end of a day. And so the suspect allegedly shot at 2 people is the latest information that we're hearing. But we haven't heard if anyone was actually hit by that gunfire. So it's unclear if there's any victims on this. But they were able to find this vehicle very quickly. It happened in LAPD's Rampart Division, so we're now making our way onto the northbound 5 right now, getting through Pacoima. So 2 people shot at is all we heard. Again, no confirmation that anyone was hit by that. But it happened in LAPD's Rampart Division, but they found this in Northeast. And here we go, northbound on the 5. Guys, back to you.
Desmond, is it the first time that we're seeing this pursuit suspect on the freeway?
No, so, we were northbound on the 101 and the north.
All right, we want to welcome our viewers from Channel 2. We're following breaking news. Police in pursuit of a shooting suspect.
And Desmond Shaw is live in SkyCal. He has more information for us. We're also on Channel 9, if I believe, simulcasting here. So, Des, take us through, we didn't mean to cut you off there, but we had to get our station ID in. So can you walk us through what we're looking at? I know you've been on this for a little bit of time, and this woman, we thought she was going to give herself up maybe once or twice, but that didn't happen.
Yep, Pat and Susie, that is correct. We are northbound 5, making our way out of Pacoima, headed up towards the 118 and beyond. This pursuit that started. We're trying to think where this actually began. The first that we were hearing about it was on the 101 freeway. We know that the shooting allegedly happened on the south side of Echo Park Lake, so pretty close to downtown LA, just north of the 101 freeway. Echo Park Boulevard and Bellevue is what we heard. 2 people shot at. Haven't heard that anyone was hit by that gunfire, though LAPD has not confirmed any victims to us, but still, shots fired at a very crowded public location. Echo Park Lake towards the end of the tail end of the day would definitely be a popular place to unwind after work. So that's LAPD's Rampart Division, but it was LAPD Northeast which found it, which is kind of the east side of town, east of the LA River, and that's where the vehicle was found. But by those units from that division, and then we were on the Hollywood Freeway, the 101 section, and the 170. And then we were off the freeway in Sun Valley. The suspect with what looked like maybe they had pulled over for the first time that we had seen, like they were going to give up. The window came down briefly. A couple of words were said. Then the window went back up, made a U-turn, and we are off again. And this is the fastest we've been going, just about up to the speed limit. It's been primarily 20, 30 miles an hour as we're getting ready to cross the 118 freeway right now. Looks like we're going to be sticking with the northbound 5. And LAPD, they don't want to relinquish this one. They say they're not going into tracking mode because of the nature of the want, a shooting suspect. And so it continues now into North San Fernando Valley here, northbound on the 5.
And they don't want CHP involved. Is that correct? No, even though this is on freeways.
That's what it sounds like. We haven't heard them wanting to give it up, and sometimes that just happens with the watch commander or with the want. If this was a stolen vehicle, they may have relinquished this to CHP at some point. But a lot of times when you're dealing with something on the more violent end of the spectrum, like shots fired, they're going to say, we're not going into tracking mode. We're sticking with this one. They don't want to risk losing it. They want to stay in as close a pursuit as possible. And they haven't seen any interest in relinquishing this to a CHP. We've seen that plenty of times before with the more serious ones where they're just going to stick with this. So even though we are in an area where we would normally give it to CHP, and we're going to be heading at this rate up towards the Santa Clarita Valley, which would be a totally different jurisdiction with LA County Sheriff's deputies. Looks like we're going to be cruising along here northbound on the 5. We passed the 118. So we're headed into Mission Hills. There should be some more traffic up ahead as I try to look out the window. Yeah, once we hit the merge with the end of the northbound 405, it's going to get pretty congested again up towards the 14. And we'll see. But the suspect's been in a lot of traffic, and they haven't done anything too crazy. They haven't tried to get to the right shoulder or the center divider or anything to blast by cars. They've been staying in lanes, just kind of going with the flow here. And LAPD going with them as well.
can understand why. This person is armed as far as they know. This started with a shots fired at Echo Park Lake earlier this afternoon, and this is what has transpired after. And so this person, we don't have any confirmation on if any victims were actually hit by that gunfire, but we do know that shots were fired. So this person, the likelihood of them being armed is pretty high right now, and that's why the LAPD definitely does not want to relinquish this pad to the CHP.
You know what's interesting? We understand that this woman shot at 2 people. She does have a dog in the front seat of the vehicle. My question to Des is, we know they're being very careful and they don't want the CHP involved maybe, but we saw for one moment there, they surrounded this woman's vehicle from the front, right, from the rear, and I thought at that moment, maybe because even knowing that she had a gun, but because they took that chance that they would have pitted her or tried to stop her.
That's a big chance.
So, Des, what do you think?
It is a big chance, and you saw though how they kind of left that out for her to get out, and that's just kind of a de-escalation technique that I would surmise. If they have a really panicked suspect who's suddenly boxed in and that person has a gun, you could see a situation like that going south pretty quickly. So almost always you'll see, and they don't want to get into a situation where the suspect is smashing into LAPD's cars, busting up both vehicles, possibly causing injuries. So even though it seems kind of antithetical to people watching, that kind of explains why they almost always do that, where they kind of intentionally leave an out for the suspect to get out. And that's exactly what happened on that last, when they were kind of trying to box her in. I mean, we even see that in cul-de-sacs a lot of times, where you're so sure it's going to be it, that's going to be a dead end, but then they find the gap, they get out, and it continues. It really just kind of looks like this suspect is trying to run out the clock on this one, just trying to delay the inevitable for as long as possible. Maybe just kind of in denial this is happening. It could definitely have some mental health issues going on here as well. So we'll just see what kind of tack they're going to take with this. There was talk of spike strips earlier when she was off the freeway for that section, but back on the freeway now. Still possible, but obviously, not going fast. Not, besides the obvious, not stopping for the police. This isn't the kind of lunatic driving that we see so many other times, where so many people are being endangered, and fortunately not endangering that little dog. Really, that is that I think we're all pretty concerned about at this point as well. So. Are we going to stop somewhere in the Santa Clarita Valley, or is this going to go where pursuits go to die on the northbound 5 passing Castaic towards the Grapevine? We'll see just how far she wants to take this. She does still have the option for the 210 and the 14 coming up, the 210 through Somar, and would bend back towards the east end of the San Fernando Valley, or the 14 up towards Palmdale and Lancaster. Keeping it to the right-hand lanes, kind of keeping it to the right of the freeway for most of the duration of this pursuit, where we've been on the freeway since we picked it up around the 170 at Magnolia. But LAPD's right there, and just maybe hoping that she's going to run out of gas, or that the vehicle's going to conk out, or that she's going to get tired of running.
On the right side of your screen, we've been showing you shots kind of Desmond zoomed in on the car. You can see the dog that Pat was referring to in the front seat there next to this woman. So yeah, as Desmond was saying, definitely a concern there. Desmond was also talking about tactics and how we would stop someone like this. Speaking about spike strips possibly when the person got off on residential, exited off onto residential streets, and that was possible if that person kept on going on residential streets. But once they got onto the freeway, I mean, that's a very difficult possibility without them having some sort of pattern of where this person is going, and we don't seem to have established that yet. So it looks like we're exiting right now just off the 210 freeway.
Yep, we are making the transition here. This is the west end of the 210 off of the 5, so making the transition to the eastbound 210. So
getting right back
away
on
from the 5 and the eastbound 210. So we're now into Somar area right now, and this is going to bend back around to the San Fernando area and the 118 freeway. So we're just kind of looping around. So at least better news for us that it's not going northbound 5 through Castaic, so we'll be able to continue to bring these pictures to you. Off the freeway at Yarnell, the first exit here off the 210 in Sylmar, so it'll put us off on Foothill Boulevard, I believe. And let's see if if now that we're off the freeway again, maybe on some less crowded streets, maybe we'll see a pit maneuver or something like that.
Or a spike strip thrown down. Well, it's very wow. Okay, that was pretty close there. Just wondering if they have more information, if they run plates, on this person, and they kind of maybe have an idea who it is driving, if this is her vehicle or not, or if someone has called into them and given them some information. Did they stop, Des? Or are they just, oh, here we go. Seems like she's slowing down, but we've seen this before, so we'll have to wait and see if she actually stops and gives up. We've seen her roll the window down before and act like she was going to exit the vehicle, but that didn't happen. Now they got their flashlights on her.
They've got guns drawn, and we do know that this person is likely armed.
Dang it. TOC, I'm losing IFB here.
Okay, looks like that.
Des, are you back with us?
Guys, sorry, I'm having a little bit of a communication issue here, but before I toss it back to you, we just saw what we've been seeing. And you saw that officer get out with the less lethal there, that green strap indicating that was going to be, pepper balls or bean bags. And just as soon as they came up with in that stance with their weapons drawn, the suspect took off once again. So now we are westbound 210, and let's see what we're going to do. So now this will be ending back at the 5. So we either need to go northbound 5 or southbound 5. So let's just see. We're going to see that decision very quickly. And once we make that transition, I'm just going to toss it back to you, Susie and Pat, to see if I can get this figured out with my radios up here. But westbound 210, there's LAPD's helicopter overhead, so it's tons of units on the ground. The units overhead as well. I believe we're going to be transitioning to the southbound 5 with this. This is north. My intrepid pilot Dylan. Yeah, you're right, because that's that crossover. So I said we weren't going up to Castaic, and now all of a sudden magically we are going to Castaic again, and Santa Clarita as we go northbound 5. So the tail end of a little bit of traffic here as they make the transition as well. But Susie and Pat, let me toss it back to you now for just 1 minute.
Well, this might be a good time, Pat, to remind our viewers of what has transpired over the past 30 minutes or so. We picked this pursuit up in the Echo Park Lake area where there was a shooting. 2 shots fired, as far as we know. Victim.
This was the pursuit started happening about 5-10 minutes ago, and it started. The pursuit went on for about 40 minutes. This pursuit has been going on for about 40 minutes. As they continue on the westbound 210 freeway and 5 freeway northbound in Sylmar, police helicopter following overhead. This was he was driving, cruising at normal speeds, playing a game of cat and mouse. Made a U-turn, then pulled over once again, 2 times now, twice. The police air unit did not go into tracking mode. Plus, decided to stay with this van. And then 65 miles an hour northbound Interstate 5 freeway. Pursuit had been on, I said, for about 40 minutes. And you see the driver cruising along at normal speeds. This was a few minutes ago, 5-10 minutes ago. It was about 5 or 10 minutes ago. The video that happened earlier, this was from, they shot it earlier. And then now, as the pursuit continues on and on the freeway, northbound 5 freeway in Granada Hills. Now dealing with some traffic, and they might get ready for some spike strips. And as you can see, he's been driving very erratically. Decided to drive and obey traffic laws, traffic rules, speed limits, and all of that. And you have to always drive normal at steady speeds, and whether it's 70, 75, 80 miles an hour, you name it, on the freeway. Whether at least 30 to 40, 25, 30 miles an hour on surface streets, you name it. You name it. And you know what? Some factors is when you have to know every sign of the road, rules of the road, decide, and now trying to pass all other commuters during the rush hour, and went onto the sidewalk, gas stations, and got around traffic. It's due to that because once again the nature of this once again getting stuck a little behind traffic. He's gonna like drive slow, drive cautiously, carefully, and calmly, and as we see the pursuit going on now. And I wanted to tell you, it's been on the run. She's been on the run, along with the dog for about 45 minutes. She's been on the run for about 45 minutes since the police started to chase the ghost. It's a state of mind. Not sure exactly but the fact that in fact they've shot 2 people. Definitely some traffic here, as they've been seeing when there is a pursuit going by, seeing more traffic ahead, and the traffic loosens up a bit. Decided to give police some room, and we might know the suspect downhill on the side of the Newhall Pass into Santa Clarita proper. This is a road work zone where if they've dropped up here, they're adding carpool lanes on both sections of the 5 freeway, and a little bit of congestion after rush hour as well. The construction and the spotlight coming overhead from LAPD's helicopter night sun. They call it to kind of help illuminate things. That's what it is. It's the time of year. It's the night. Seasons change because due to the cold, chilly weather. We might want to tell you something, that if they track the spike strips, they have to hear if they say good spike or not. They're gonna start to see the tires deflate. And if the officer experiencing enough, that was a really good opportunity for a spike strip right there. Let's see if we're gonna see how the suspect reacts. 50-50 chance if they could get up in front of the vehicle, since he's driving, since she's driving slow. Spike strip was no good. I could tell. They're gonna do it again. They're gonna try it again. Earlier on, they did put out a stop stick. It didn't work. Very, very interesting. My guess is the CHP helped out on this particular pursuit, saw an opportunity, and once again did do a spike strip. The fact she's driving so slow that gave them more opportunity to do something like this, because with the high rate of speed, that's a difficulty. They're not really anticipating where they're going. They've probably got enough time letting CHP know she's headed to this direction. They're able to try out spike strip. Now they're waiting to see if it was successful or if not. I think it is successful. That's correct. There wasn't really any talk about that. They've been listening with LAPD's frequency on Northeast. They've been on talking about the movements. Didn't say anything about a spike. So it may have been they've been talking about on CHP frequency. Goes to show that even whenever one agency use the other, they are in a primary for a pursuit, or when there's an LSPDFR that I'm planning to order a PC and download, install files, and make mods of the news helicopter, the Weasel News helicopter, and the police helicopter, and that are following overhead. When there's a box truck pursuit and it's upcoming, they're landing a helicopter if need to be, for a longer period of time. They're going to be northbound on the 5 freeway. They do believe that. I believe he's speeding at 50-60 miles an hour. I'm surprised the speedometer has not shown up. It has not shown up as of right now, like it was shown up just several hours ago. We've been live streaming for the better part of an hour. They will only be able to take it to the lake and up towards Grapevine, where the suspect is headed. They're certainly driving like the suspect was like a spike strip. It was not effective. This has been dark. There hasn't been any communication. Earlier tonight, nobody was involved. Nobody was being a hero. They were staying back, regardless. Still not going very fast. Wide open conditions, but only on the 5 freeway. If the weather predicts, the vehicle that they did set up a spike strip, the whole package the radio frequencies underground, cars underground, the chopper in the sky, the news helicopter in the sky, and aircraft in the sky, because they want to keep it all in the same communications. The news helicopter reporter doing a great job listening in on the radio frequencies, offering these when we talk about spike strips. Sometimes when they do it at 95 miles an hour, even at high speeds, they did it. I thought it was unsuccessful. I think it is. It's successful, I'm assuming. And they have a good aim at that, where this person is traveling 65 miles an hour. Yeah, it's 55 at 55 miles an hour. 55 miles an hour. Where the pursuit they have struck, they can still travel. It takes a little bit of time. She didn't want that to happen. That means the tire could wear out, and you see them riding on the rims. It's very interesting to. They've talked about cooperation. They obviously had the cart, you name it. They have radio channels. I could tell it's not LAPD. It's out. If it's out of their jurisdiction, they're going to say objection. We want the county sheriff's department to help us. And she shot at 2 people, and this person is still armed. Luckily, shots had not been fired earlier on before the pursuit had began. They interrupted this breaking news, and somebody had called the cops, called the police, called the 911, and radioed radio for the police to back up. Radio for the police to get here as fast as they can. And how much gas that she have? She's traveled a little bit, been going on for the better part of about 45-50 minutes since the police started this chase. Possibly the car and a gun in the car, Echo Park Lake. Earlier today, it began with an incident sparking outrising crimes across the country. Gun on gun, police pursuit violence package, pursuit reaction, live streaming of video edition. Before it gets too chaotic, speeds have been peaceful. LAPD hanging on to this suspect. They are talking about having CHP to take this over, probably, especially now, getting ready to leave the region and go northbound 5 freeway unless the suspect gets off on one of these exits. The local law enforcement agencies do pick up the pursuits very well. When there's a cop TV show in where they have it's a carjacking, first armed carjacking and robbery in another state in Ohio. When it was aired in 1993, the cops TV show was aired on Fox in the heart of Cleveland. And, the pursuit, so many units were behind that suspect. Crossed underneath the freeway. 2 suspects were wanted for robbery. The one passenger handcuffed, taken to a hospital by EMTs. Police were on that scene. News helicopters and the police helicopters, boy, they're on it. So many cop TV shows that was aired in 1989 with the producer John Langley, that I'm being told he was dead as of 2010 and peacefully. We're having a good year so far. Losing a helicopter, kind of having a blind spotlight. Wow. CHP units, LAPD units, we want to keep the spirit alive as well. And we're having a good year so far. Years have moved, several years and past decades. Experience, all of that, home videos and cell phone videos. We're moving on to a new year, that we're having some goals that we did at school a long time ago. There was a spike strip attempt. They're gonna be cornering that suspect, or they're gonna put this ending to an end, turn this into a standoff, or they might get out and pull over from the car. She might get irritated when she steps on the gas. It doesn't bother her. She's getting away, ignoring the CHP commands. Still at 60 miles an hour, these pursuit suspects, what do they do? Call it talking sometimes, police sometimes stopping for whatever reasons. They have seen the same thing over and over and over again. Got the idea, and not hanging out, gesturing, she has not been gesturing, saying out some mean words to the police. They were stopped twice by LAPD in 2 different points throughout the pursuit. During the course of this pursuit, been going on for the better part of an hour. And we're hearing from the police. They're hearing from the police all orders they would hear from them. Throw the keys out. Come out with your hands up. And then they're gonna ask if anybody's inside that car. This is CHP or LAPD's units, Sheriff's Department. Like this is LSPD FR Department. Like what I'm doing. Pretty soon, one of these days, I might do an LSPDFR and some mods. If someone could help me set up a mod, LSPDFR mods, then what I would see a pursuit, I would follow them cautiously and have the police hold traffic. Now I would be very good at communicating with police officers throughout the game in GTA 5. Sounds like CHP officer was the only one coming out. Fullerton, that they were called, it's still a while before they even make it up here. CHP got over this just several minutes ago. The suspect might be in the Pyramid Lake and northbound 5 freeway, Newhall Pass and Valencia. They're gonna go much farther as they get up close to Lake. There are a couple more miles for lack of the night vision, night sun overhead. It's sunset going down, flying into these mountains at the night of the dark. When night falls, it's nighttime. Sweltering throughout the night. We're gonna let you listen now. It's been over an hour. CHP is getting involved now. We're gonna let you listen.
Right, with the escort
Seen
in
any
front of and behind. When you think about it, because I haven't seen any other traffic where she is.
They've been holding some traffic on the ramps back, and then that's probably in coordination of a spike strip as well. You saw that unit go flying up ahead, and I think they're going to possibly attempt something here in a little bit. And then you're also going to have CHP holding traffic back here. You can see all these units, and they're going to have a unit that's running basically a traffic break where they're going back and forth and not allowing anyone else to potentially get involved.
Wow, several
you
units.
See just how much darker it's starting to go as we are getting ready to make that ascent towards the Central Valley.
It looks like we were seeing a lot more ground units than we normally do during the CHP pursuit.
There are quite a few that are in this now. We've got at least half a dozen, and I think there's actually an LAPD unit that's still back there as well. Maybe to take custody of the suspect when this is over. But most of LAPD's units have backed out. I think they're just going to have that one unit there, kind of like chain of custody or what have you. But let's see if there's going to be anything happening here
I almost thought she was going to pull over again, Daz, like she was moving to the right.
Wow.
Stop it.
I mean, considering
my God.
We've stopped off the freeway in Sun Valley, and then we stopped off the freeway in Silmar very briefly, and now we're going towards the Central Valley. It just seems aimless. It just seems like one of those pursuits where the suspect is just trying to run this out as long as they can, and just kind of just in denial about what's going to happen. You're going to be in handcuffs, and gosh, just hope that dog's going to be okay, and maybe she's panicking about that, but there will be repercussions for this suspect, and it's going to come one way or another, especially now, as there's not going to really be any place to hide. The units are right there. They are not giving this one up just because they are traveling the grapevine. That's
inside that
not
mini.
like some magical, cure-all to being pursued by the police. And So it's really just up to the suspect, though. You know, when do you want to be in handcuffs? Do you want it now, or are you going to escalate the situation and end up in handcuffs anyway?
And have your little dog removed from your care for at least a while, right? I mean, I don't necessarily. Yeah, I don't know exactly what happens, but I have a feeling that they're just not going to let her. You know, even if they keep her overnight.
You know, as we saw earlier, we're anticipating a possible spike strip. We saw a CHP officer driving very aggressively way past this suspect. So we're possibly anticipating that right now. You don't know what side it's going to come from. Probably on the right-hand side. That's where officers are deemed most safe, I believe, because they do have to hide, you know, in throwing these spike strips out. They can't be visible, and they have to also make sure that they're not going to get hit by a car.
Like out of the way.
It's dark out there, and see an officer there. I wonder if that was it.
You think they threw
that
another
negative
one?
spike they just said too.
Right.
That was the attempt. It was right there under the crossover, so we couldn't see it. But I just heard them say negative spike. So that is two spike attempts that we have seen. Neither one successful. You saw the suspect kind of get over to the left-hand shoulder there into the center divider, and that was probably to avoid that spike. But it just goes to show
Okay,
that when
the spike strips had been avoided. I thought it was successful, but not. I was right. I might be wrong. They did prove me wrong. So the spike strips were not successful.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that was another one. And it looks like she might have driven right over that. Yeah, I think it was. I'm just listening to see if they're saying anything about that, but we saw that unit there. And it sure looked like he retracted some spikes, so there may have been multiple attempts right there. Okay, now, thank you, Assignment Desk, confirming that they heard that one did contact. So I thought there would be a couple more attempts before we started making our way towards Pyramid Lake and beyond. Sheriff's helicopter? Okay, and Sheriff's helicopter is coming in as well, also with night vision equipment. So we'll see if we can stick with this one. We're really on the border of how far it's safe for us to go, but that last spike was successful. It's awfully dark out here. It looks like she is starting to have some trouble controlling this vehicle, and let's hope that this is just going to be the end and we can bring a peaceful ending to you, and hopefully, you know, that little dog as well. But the writing is on the wall now for the suspect, as you can see, just barely getting along now, slower and slower. We're also, you know, climbing the grapevine as well. So north of Castaic, tires flattening. How much longer can she go?
And, you know, you said it, Desmond, we hope that this is going to end peacefully, that she knows she can't move or go any further, and she will be taken into custody. So just hopefully she will relent and cooperate in terms of exiting the vehicle with her little dog. That may be some incentive for her to do so, you know, to have this end peacefully. And again, we don't know exactly what's happened and why she shot at two people. That's what we heard, though, that was a report.
Yes, then this the last to women's prison until
Park Lake, and then
bomber.
just took off, and here we are
the problem.
in Newhall, and the car is obviously damaged very slowly. We expect that any minute now that she will stop, because this is the third spike attempt, and we understand that it was successful.
And it was successful. We are hearing from our assignment desk on the front left tire, and so it looks like she is sort of looking like she's going to pull over, but then again, you see her pick up speed just a little bit. You know, when these spike strips hit the tire, it's not a fast process, but as Desmond was saying, he did see her sort of, you know, losing a little bit of control of the car, driving a little more, you know, just a little more, you know, longer than it was before.
She's barely moving, according to our speedometer there, which is probably another sign that it certainly was successful. But again, Susie, we have seen vehicles sometimes continue to drive longer than we think they would be able to, even with a successful spike strip. So, Des, the key here now, the next thing is how this is going to end, and we certainly hope it will end peacefully. We hope we can show it to you, but you see how far we are from this particular scene. It gets still dangerous.
Yeah, and just very stubbornly refusing to acknowledge the reality of the situation now, and the the tires deflating, at least one, possibly two. We just heard again, they were saying excellent contact, so probably contacted two tires, if not, even all four. And it is a slow process, like you said, Susie, and it's also just really uncomfortable to be driving. I mean, I think we've all driven on flat tires, and it's kind of nerve-wracking. And now you're going to have potentially multiple flat tires, and you're also climbing the Great Bottom
Wow.
pretty steep angle. And
Up in those
apparently
mountains,
they
the
maintain 20
police
miles an hour now,
still
at
following
this
them.
point. So what is the point? Just she would just. My hope is that she just will come out with her hands up, leave the dog in the car, leave the door closed, so that the dog doesn't panic and try to run out here into the wilderness or something, and then hopefully it's a friendly dog, and CHP won't have any trouble, getting that dog to the proper people. But it's still up to the suspect at this point, and 7 miles an hour now. We're down to the single digits with this vehicle. Now actually 13, 14. I think we're going at such slow speeds that our speedometer's kind of having trouble detecting it. Plus, we're getting farther away. We're basically as far north as we can go on this. So we're just kind of watching this one get away and hoping that it will end any second. And we see some hands come out of the window.
As for her, so again, in trying to figure out why this happened in the first place, being uncomfortable may not matter to her at this point. It could be, her mind may not even be in that kind of set that says, okay, this doesn't feel so good. And she's just going to go as far as she can, even knowing that she probably won't get